When I say the first Super Mario Brothers for the NES is the perfect game, I'm speaking fact based off of my experience alone. Is it the greatest game of all time? My favorite game? Personally, no. But I still believe it's perfect. Super Mario is one of, if not the most iconic video game characters of all time. Now, he didn't get his start in this particular game, but this is the game to make him famous. Now, we're not doing a Nintendo or Super Mario history lesson here. We're simply praising what at the time changed video games forever. The second I inserted that NES cartridge, pressed that power button on my NES, my view of video games changed forever. I was used to Atari 2600 games, little bleeps and bloops, squares and odd shapes barely resembling anything, a few colors here and there. You really had to use your imagination. I mean, that stuff was cool at one point, but after Super Mario Brothers, I pretty much forgot Atari. The title screen was bright. If you waited a couple seconds, the game started playing itself for just a moment. Got a little awesome glimpse of what you were in for. Now, I wasn't used to games where the screen actually scrolled, so this was magical. Now, if you didn't read the manual, you probably had no idea what was going on. But, I mean, before this game, I really didn't know what was going on. But you would soon piece at least some of it together just by playing a bit, at least by beating the first world. But, to kind of recap, the Mushroom Kingdom was invaded by the Koopa tribe. These guys are turtles known for their black magic. They turn most of the mushroom people into bricks, stones, and plants, and kidnap Princess Toadstool. She's the only one who could reverse the magic spell. So you're Mario, you got to save the princess. This is according to the manual. Now, the controls, they were simple. The D-pad, boom, move left and right. You can duck. You had 2 buttons, hold B to run, press A to jump. Simple and effective controls with amazing physics, and the momentum that you could build up really helped make this experience like no other at the time. It also was just as, it wasn't just as simple as running from left to right. There was also power-ups. You had magic mushrooms to make you bigger, Super Mario, letting you take an extra hit before dying. You had fire flowers, allowing you to throw fireballs at enemies. And the Starman, giving you a little period of invincibility. So the game gradually eases you into things. The difficulty curve was perfect, very accessible. World 1, level 1, you had some blocks. A Goomba, there's some pipes at the start. Nothing too crazy. You immediately learn how to deal with enemies and obstacles. Most everything you need to learn to beat this game, you figure out in this first level. But you're not going to master everything just by this first stage alone. So you jump on that first Goomba, so now you think, hey, that's how I kill enemies. But then you encounter a Koopa Troopa. They don't die when you jump on them, but you can kick their shell to kill other enemies or just get rid of them off screen. But you got to be careful. If the shell bounces back towards you, you can die. Now, after that first level, each new enemy causes you to think and try different things. Not everything can be killed by simply jumping on them, unfortunately. So the game, it introduces new challenges at a nice pace. New enemies every few levels. New obstacles. Sometimes you get larger gaps to jump, or unique layouts challenge you to utilize the skills that you've learned playing all the previous stages. Early on, most gaps can be jumped easily, but as you progress, there'll be some that you're going to need to build momentum in order to cross. At times, things seem to become familiar. Like, there's a pattern to how the stages rotate, or the designs of the obstacles, and how enemies are placed or behave. This is the perception you may have. But, the first time you encounter Bullet Bill in World 5 Stage 1, they shoot from cannons. But then, a few stages later, they just start shooting from random. Just randomly flying at you from the right side of the screen. Now you know, they don't have to be seen shot out of a cannon. They could be coming from off screen as well. The Hammer Brothers, they're twins. When you first encounter them in 3-1, they fight you as a pair. Each time you see them, they're together, the twins. But eventually you start seeing them individually. So, things kind of change up here and there. The first time you see horizontal moving platforms, falling platforms, and the balanced platforms in World 3-3, you get used to seeing them. 3 worlds later, in 6-3, they're half the size. You get used to seeing the rotating fireballs in Bowser's Castle every 4, levels. But then in 5-4, holy crap, that thing is huge. Each time you face Bowser, it seems almost the same, but something gets added slightly that changes the challenge. By the 6th time you face him, he's throwing hammers at you. So things change, things get added. You know, it does kind of get familiar here and there with certain things, but they can change things up to up the challenge and surprise you. And I think this is done at a masterful pace. It's beautiful. While I think the game presented a perfect challenge that gradually increased and was fair and accessible to players, the thing that amazed me the most at the time was the feeling of purpose. Every game I played prior to this, I didn't necessarily feel immersed. I had to really use my imagination to feel like I was trying to accomplish something besides a high score. This was the first game that I played that I felt like I was actually traveling through a world as I progressed through the stages, seeing unique locations, day and night, making it feel like time was passing in a fantasy world. If you simply used the warp pipes in World 1, 2, and 4, 2 to get to World 8, then maybe you wouldn't have that feeling, but try playing the game without skipping a single stage. Everyone remembers what 1-1 and 1-2 looks like, and I think some people may think the entire game looks like that, but there are 32 stages in total. 9 daytime outdoor stages, 4 nighttime outdoor stages, 2 underground stages, yeah, there's only 2 of those, 5 daytime sky stages, 2 nighttime sky stages, 2 underwater stages, and 8 inside castle stages. And within each of those categories I just listed, each of those levels have unique differences. Not all sky levels look the same or use the same graphics. As an example, just take a look at World 6-3. It's essentially all black and white with the clouds having a red tint, while most others were quite a bit more colorful. This stage gives off a weird vibe compared to most other sky stages. So yeah, the game had a lot of cool variety and landscapes that really helped get me immersed into the world. This is not a long game, so the immersion may be short, but I've kept coming back to it for over 30 years and it's magical each time to me. This is a comfort game, like comfort food to me. So when you finally reach World 8, each stage throws everything at you. All the enemies you've seen so far, the most challenging jumps, the longest stages. It's the final stretch to the real Bowser's Castle. In World 8-3, right before you enter Bowser's Castle, it looks and feels like you're going through his last defenses with fortresses and castle walls surrounding you. Earlier in the game, you'd entered a couple trick castles in World 4 and 7, where you had to choose the correct path in order to get to Bowser, otherwise the stage would repeat itself. In the final stage, it's another trick castle. But this time, you have to choose the correct pipes to go down. And this is the most advanced castle out of all of them. You got flying Cheep Cheeps, an underwater area, and one last hammer bro to overcome before facing off with the real Bowser. And then finally, you actually save the princess. You finally see her for the first time. And there's a new challenge for you to play. Go back to the title screen, press B to select a world to start on, and the challenge has increased. No more Goombas. They've been replaced with Buzzy Beetles. The sense of accomplishment I got from beating this game for the first time back in the day was amazing. This was the future of gaming. When it comes to side-scrolling platformers, Mario was the king in the 80s and 90s. I've played many other games that are similar, but none have ever felt to me as perfect or as memorable as Super Mario 1. Sure, it's a lot of nostalgia, my personal experience, but there is no denying the impact this game had on gamers and the industry that is still felt to this day. So yes, I feel the first Super Mario game is perfect due to timeless design that holds up to today, iconic characters, music, gameplay, and the influence that it's had. Maybe for you this game isn't perfect, maybe you think it's full of flaws and it's the worst game ever made. There's no reason to argue with me. You're not going to change my mind or my experience. But your experience and thoughts, just as important. And interesting, perhaps. So share them down below. I'm always curious to hear your guys' takes on these kinds of topics. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Catch you on the next one. Bye.